Gensler will be stepping down from the SEC. That'll be effective at noon on January 20th. That's when Donald Trump will take the oath of office. So the Biden appointee will be stepping down. Now, his tenure as chair ran through 2026, but clearly it has been signaled intensely by the Trump team that they intend to replace Gary Gensler at the SEC. So he does not intend to stick around to see how that process plays out. This now, Kelly, gives the Trump team another big economic slot to fill.
We're closing in, as we said, 100. When does that happen, sir?
You know, today, tomorrow, it feels almost inevitable at this point. You know, when markets get close to targets, they hit them. Listen, what I think listeners have to understand is when Donald Trump got elected, there was a paradigm change. And we have a hard time trading paradigm changes. What I mean by that is 4 years with a really harsh regulatory and political climate for people in this industry, and now wide open. The entire cabinet almost owns Bitcoin and is proponents of digital assets. I mean, Kennedy said his whole net worth is in Bitcoin. So the people around that table are very pro this space. They're pro innovation, they're pro digital assets, they're pro Bitcoin. And I think the rest of the world has to take notice, and we're seeing it. We're seeing it with buying from the Mideast. Right now, there seems to be an almost inexhaustible demand from the public equity markets. You look at MicroStrategy, what Michael Saylor's doing, and that's the real big buyer of crypto right now. People funding in the equities, using those monies to buy Bitcoin. But you know, normally you hit 100, you bounce off of it. I would not be surprised if, you know, we go much higher. We're in price discovery. There's not a lot of supply. There had been a giant seller for the last week between 92, 93, and 94. Probably $14, $15 billion of Bitcoin sold there. I know because we saw the buying, not us personally, but the U.S.
Right.
market.
But Mike, so as a trader, though, if you're just trying to trade this, as you know so well, there are times when it blows through whatever you think the target is, and 100, you're saying, yeah, maybe it blows through that. There's also been these sort of remarkable retrenchments where, you know, it retraces 50%.
Yeah, listen, there's a ton of leverage. I don't think it'll retrace 50%. I am very confident we don't go back below 80. Very confident, right? That's kind of where we took off for 76, 77. You know, pre-election, that election move. It would be shocking to me if we went back. But listen, there's a ton of leverage in the system right now. You look at these 3 times levered, you know, MicroStrategy ETFs, 2-time levered. You look at the funding rates to do crypto in our market, right? The perpetual market, right, as high as they've been. The basis is high. And so the crypto community is levered to the gilts. And so there will be a correction.
They hear that and it's like a bell goes off. Leverage in the system, and here we are talking about 2 and 3 times leverage. I don't know if you think that's too much leverage, but how would, if that were to quote unquote break, how would that manifest itself?
Well, listen, I mean, you know, the Bitcoin's a 50, 60 vol asset, and why do you need any leverage on it? But people have leverage on it, right? MicroStrategy's 100 plus a vol stock, and to double leverage that, you know, seems like you're asking for trouble at one point. And so there will be some sharp corrections, certainly in the stocks that are more levered than the you know, the underlying commodity itself. Right. By definition, there has to be. You don't know where it comes from. Right now, banks can't hold crypto on their balance sheet, for goodness sakes. That will change relatively quick.
So, Mike, if that were to happen, what are we talking about here? Meaning, if we're at 100, call it 100,000 now. Once that happens, is that already baked into these prices, or do you say, oh, then it's 200,000?
Well, you know, we're moving in that direction, right? Like, if you think about gold at what's gold, $16 trillion now? I haven't looked recently. Probably close to 16 trillion, right? That's 800,000 Bitcoin. And young people don't like gold. Bitcoin is their gold. Young people live in a digital world. And so as this money goes from baby boomers to younger people, there's a natural progression of out of gold into Bitcoin. And so Bitcoin should catch gold in the next 3 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years. It's hard to make these predictions.
You mean the entire size of the market?
Yes. So that would be 800,000 Bitcoin. And so it's not going to get there overnight. But one of the things that was holding back, not just Bitcoin, but innovation in the whole crypto sector, was a really, really aggressive SEC and U.S. government. And that's all going to change. And so I think don't underestimate. Like, you got to give a shout out to the crypto community who has persevered, right, in small meetups, and then in, this is hitting 100,000 is going to be a big deal for that giant group of people that have spent a long time. And remember, this whole experiment got life because of fiscal instability, right? Because governments just kept running larger deficits.
But to that point, if Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy do their job, you would think there'd be less instability.
And I watch this very closely. I mean, the same president who's picking Linda McMahon to run education and Matt Gaetz to run attorney general might have the, four of the best candidates to run our economy that I could think of, with Mark Rowland, Scott Bessent, right, Kevin Warsh, and Bill Hagerty. Like, any combination of those guys is the A team. And those guys plus Elon and Vivek, if they actually bend the curve of debt to GDP, if they actually cut our deficit, if they actually cut inefficiency, the story for Bitcoin is less appealing, period. And so to do that, they're going to have to tackle Social Security and Medicare, and they got to get through a very close Congress, right? The Senate is 3 seats, 4 seats. The House is 4 or 5 seats.
But wait a second. Donald Trump himself has says he doesn't want to tackle Social Security and Medicare and cut people's benefits.
You can't cut the deficit unless you attack those.
I can't imagine him doing that just because it's something he's always been opposed to. He's not going to want to take blowback from the people who put him into office.
And if that's the case, which is the case most people are betting on, with all the great intentions, Bitcoin goes higher, gold goes higher. You've got to keep printing dollars.
The other thing is the proposal that I have and that President Trump has discussed about a strategic Bitcoin reserve or strategic Bitcoin stockpile, where the United States would acquire and hold Bitcoin for 20 years. Because of the way that Bitcoin has been appreciating since inception, this would be an asset that could help shore up the US dollar as the world reserve currency and serve as a reserve that could be used to reduce the national debt significantly. The American people are still hurting from inflation, from high prices, and they want the national debt reduced. These are ways to do it with an asset that is immutable, can easily be held by the federal government in a variety of vaults, and that states can participate in as well. So this is the gold standard digital asset, and a strategic Bitcoin reserve is the way to embed it.
And we have XRP up over 25% today. Let's get into the video and see why. Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you're joining the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And also, guys, make sure you go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And it's official. Gary Gensler is out January 20th. And that means they're ready to push this fourth industrial revolution. It's going to be pro-crypto. And we have Mike Novogratz saying that Bitcoin is going to go much higher, but then dip. Also, stocks are going to be taking a beating because they're over-leveraged. And we're going to get into that later. And he says banks are unable to hold Bitcoin. And we know that as soon as we get legislation, we know behind the curtain the Fed is already ready to bring the sheep onto this new digital economy. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. Now, Mike Novogratz also said by Elon cutting the deficit, it makes Bitcoin less appealing. And again, we know about the fourth industrial revolution. We know Mike Novogratz is only going to give us half the truth. He's not going to tell you about the robots, algorithms, and drones that are going to be using these digital currencies. Remember, crypto means hidden message, hidden meaning. These cryptos are for the machines. The machines now have money. They can run the economy without a human involved. And we have Senator Loomis on Bitcoin reserves, says that we should buy and hold for about 20 years to help cut this deficit and back the United States dollar. And again, she's not going to tell you that the United States dollar is going to lose that world reserve currency and we're going to be going on a level playing field. Trump is being put in office to sell the people on landing us in this new digital economy. Now we have Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy. We have Jim Cramer saying he rather has Bitcoin than MicroStrategy. And then also Mike Novogratz says that MicroStrategy is going to be taking a beating. And we know that for a fact. When you look at MicroStrategy, the business, we know it's not worth anything close to what's going on right now. But once he became that Bitcoin spokesperson, MicroStrategy went through the roof. It's nothing but a meme stock. But by him buying all that Bitcoin, right now it makes the company profitable. But we know Bitcoin always takes big dips. And we have Scaramucci says that Gary Gensler helped the industry. But we know the banks are the biggest what? I'll let you finish that. We know the bank man wasn't doing nothing different than what the banks do on a daily basis. Remember, your life is an illusion and TV is your reality. We had Scaramucci flying around with a bank man, but acts like he didn't know what was going on. And then we had jobless claims came in good. But we also know about holiday hiring. We know these numbers are always manipulated. But we do get all the numbers before the Fed meets. So the Fed is not going to have any excuses. They're going to have all the data. But looking at the numbers right now, it will surprise me if they cut rates in December. If they do, then we know it's off to the races. But I have a feeling they're going to pause. So remember, they want to keep these rates high as possible in order to destroy this legacy market so the fourth industrial revolution can rise. Whether robots, algorithms, and drones take the economy over, pay each other with crypto, and the sheep go inside the metaverse. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
MSTR. I've got to tell you, it's a Bitcoin play. I prefer to actually own Bitcoin. I know that Citron put some sort of short on it. All I can tell you is own Bitcoin. That's a winner.
Well, I think, Melissa, the best way to look at MicroStrategy is you've got an operating company balance sheet that can take advantage of equity and debt to be able to opportunistically buy Bitcoin. And the company embarked on their Bitcoin acquisition strategy in, I think, August of 2020. And since then, MicroStrategy is the best performing stock in the Fortune 500. You called out that it's outperformed Bitcoin. It's outperformed Bitcoin by double or more in that period of time. And so, you look at, investment companies, they can't leverage an operating company balance sheet to exploit the opportunities that MicroStrategy has. That's the high level.
So how do you think about the premium at which MicroStrategy trades versus Bitcoin and what that should be? Because it can't go to the sky, I would imagine. And today it was a key reversal in that it hit a record high at the open, closed at the lows on very heavy volume. I mean, this was a signal technically that maybe things are going to slow down. How do you think about that premium?
Sure. That premium is clearly a point of discussion for investors. The premium has expanded. The premium, which is basically the value, the value of the stock relative to how much Bitcoin they have on their balance sheet. That is what the premium is. It's over 200% right now. So you can look at that as a risk, but you can also look at it as an opportunity for the company because, again, they've got an operating company balance sheet that can exploit that premium to continue to buy Bitcoin. And, just this month, the company has acquired another $4 billion of Bitcoin using equity. And earlier this week, also priced a very successful convertible notes offering to raise another $2.5 billion, which we expect the company will put to work, or perhaps already is putting to work, in acquiring more Bitcoin, exploiting that premium to be able to expand Bitcoin per share.
Joe, it's Karen. Thanks for being on. So if you were to back out a valuation for the operating business, I have no idea what that is. What is that? And so then you back into an embedded price for Bitcoin. How big is that premium when you do that exercise?
Sure. So when MicroStrategy embarked upon this Bitcoin acquisition strategy of theirs, it was mostly a software company. It was a very successful business intelligence software company. The Bitcoin strategy has taken on the majority of the enterprise value here, and today the software business is less than 10% of overall enterprise value here. So when you back that out and you do, perhaps a sum of the parts analysis, looking at that as well as equity and debt on the balance sheet, you end up with a 200% premium, which is basically the value of the stock versus how much Bitcoin they have on their balance sheet.
So it's basically the same. It's the same. I mean, the operating business is so de minimis that the premium is the same, even if you back it out.
Yes, but the key is they have an operating company balance sheet.
Right.
To be able to exploit capital markets to accretively buy Bitcoin. If you were to look at this, say, in comparison to a Bitcoin ETF,
right.
Well, they don't have an operating company balance sheet.
In a perfect SEC commissioner, et cetera. So a lot of things have to go right. But yes, I mean, it's been a big move. But since we're just talking specifically right now about Bitcoin, I would maintain to the people in this room that Bitcoin is at the price that it should have been at in January of 2022. And just hear me out for a second. The cash ETF should have been approved January, February 2022. It was blocked by Gary Gensler. Lawsuits ensued. The court ruled in favor of the industry. If you go to law school and take administrative law, there's a clause in administrative law that you can't be arbitrary or capricious with the administration of the law, and he clearly was doing that. So he did something to the industry that held back pricing and held back where we are today. So I think where we are today is just a reflection of where we should have been. Now, before we go to the next question, I will say this about Gary. He didn't do this on purpose, but he actually saved the industry, because by blocking the Bitcoin cash or spot ETF, it exposed the weaknesses in the industry. It exposed FTX and Celsius and 3 Arrow, and we had this capitulation and collapse and deleveraging, which, I was getting killed back then, as you know. Okay, you have very friendly journalists, that write about me when I'm getting my ass kicked. But anyway, and I stayed in those positions and obviously being rewarded now. But if Gary didn't do that, I think we would be living in a world of Sam Bankman-Fried. I don't think that fraud could have necessarily been exposed. So, we do need regulation, and we do need propitious and mindful regulation.
On initial claims, 213,000. We continue to see them very, very well behaved. 213,000. Well, that would be the lightest level going all the way back to the last week in April. Now, here's a surprise. 1,908,000. We did not get our 24th consecutive 1.8 million. We now jumped to 1.9 plus million on continuing claims. We haven't had a 1.9 handle since November of 2021.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting at more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 kids books, It's Time to Re-Educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.